I want to welcome everyone. I want to thank you all for taking the time to, taking some time out of your Thursday evening on December 8th here to hear a little bit more about the Advanced Math and Science Academy Charter School, which we will refer to from here on out as AMSA. Of course, our lottery process, our lottery has opened up to the public. We're starting to receive applications at a rapid rate, which is great. I'll just preface everything and let you all know that you're going to hear my voice quite a bit tonight. I'm going to go through many slides outlining the basics of our school, but also go somewhat in depth so you get a very nice picture of what we're all about, how the school operates, what sort of programs and opportunities that we have here for our students at the school at AMSA. Miss Edwards is here as well, Linda Edwards. She will formally introduce herself later on toward the end. She is our admissions specialist. She's our registrar. She is kind of your go-to person if you have any questions regarding the lottery and application process, and if your student is accepted if they're drawn in the lottery and you do accept a seat through the lottery, then Miss Edwards will be definitely a very, very important point of contact for you moving forward. So she will come in later on in this presentation and will introduce herself. So my name's Mike Naraki. I'm the principal at AMSA. I am in my 13th school year here at AMSA. I started out as a special education teacher for about 2 years. Then I was the dean of students for around 7 school years, and then became vice principal for a brief period of time. And then I was named principal in March of 2019. So I've been principal now for a little over 3 years, but have plenty of experience at the school, a little over a decade's worth of experience here. I love the school. I'm actually from Marlboro. I used to live in Clinton. I know Hudson very well. I'm getting to know Maynard quite well. Those are our 4 core towns, which we'll go into a little bit more. Those are the towns that we, at the core, serve, as well as many others, which we'll go through. But it's a fantastic school, and I'm looking forward to telling you all a little bit more about it tonight. So I'm expecting this will be hopefully a little less than an hour and give everybody out there some time to ask some questions through the chat. And before I forget, if you don't mind, if you're out there right now and you have the ability to hit the chat button, we would love to hear how you heard about this event tonight, whether, whatever medium you heard about this night. And what drew you here. We're just looking to gather some very quick, simple data because we did advertise this night and we have a couple other evenings set up as well. So if you don't mind writing into the chat, just letting us know how you heard about this, that would be great for our communications manager, Mr. Finkel, who's not on camera right now, but you might see the name Mike Finkel. He is our communications manager. He's definitely very interested in that, and he's kind of in the background tonight, controlling this whole experience here on Zoom for us. So thank you to Mr. Finkel as well. All right, so let's get going here. So Advanced Math and Science Academy Charter School. We're located in Marlboro, Massachusetts. What are we all about? Who are we? What is a charter school? I'll go into a little, some of the bare bones on that. So AMSA is a free public charter school. It is not a private school. I still have friends of mine who I've known for many, many years who know that I work here, who will still ask me once in a while, how much does it cost to go to AMSA? What's the tuition? And I have to consistently remind some of them, it's not a private school. There is no tuition. It's a free public charter school. Our enrollment level is capped at 966 students. This is where the lottery comes in. If we have, let's say we have, just for example, 100 open spots at the school and we had 90 applicants, then, we wouldn't really need to run a lottery process necessarily, but we're consistently in a situation where we have many applicants compared to our open seats. We are capped at the enrollment level of 966 students. we are grades 6 through 12. So that's just a little, that number is capped. That's controlled by the Massachusetts Department of Education. That was the original enrollment cap on our school from when the school expanded into a grade 6 through 12 charter school. Our core towns, as I mentioned a little while ago, Clinton, Maynard, Marlborough, and Hudson. When Miss Edwards speaks at the end regarding the lottery process, she'll talk about how the core values come into how that plays a factor in the lottery process. We have a very diverse student body, student population. We come from 37 different towns. There's over 55 different languages represented at the school. We survey the students. That's based on some data maybe 3 years ago. But I think that those numbers are still pretty solid as far as representing the diversity of the school. We surveyed our students and families to gather that information regarding languages that are represented at our school. As you can see here, supportive learning environment. We do have very high expectations for our students in their learning activities and as well as their behavior. We have high expectations for ourselves as a staff, as the administration, the teaching staff, everybody, all the administrators, everyone who works here. We all have high expectations for ourselves. We have high expectations for our students. We have high expectations across the entire community. It says here we work hard and we play hard. I think that speaks to the fact that there's a lot of great, rich learning experiences inside the classroom, but we also have many ways to expand on that outside of the classroom, whether it's through interest clubs, academic related clubs after school, or our strong athletic program that we have as well. It mentions here that we have a new building project that's coming up. Anyone who's been maybe researching the school a little bit, maybe you've seen some of that on our website, some mention of that on our website. We have a big capital campaign going on. We're looking to build up a brand new building and change our traffic pattern here on campus. If you want to see more information on that, you can visit our webpage, and there's much information dedicated to that. In general, I strongly suggest that I encourage everyone to check out our website if you have not yet done so. As I mentioned earlier, Mike Finkel is here, our communications manager, and he's also in charge of overseeing our website and all the operations on our school website. It is very informative. It's easy to follow. There's a search button there in case you get lost or you're looking for something specific. But I highly recommend you go there, not just to look at information around our new building project, but just to look at some of the procedures and policies of the school, to see some of the key updates, some of the news and activity that's going on involving our students, because it's a great site to visit for sure. Just bear with me 1 second. I want to minimize my screen here. Okay. AMSA mission and core values. So our mission statement, again, it's posted all over our walls at school. It's posted on our website. And here's some bullet points from our mission. Our mission statement mentions the celebration of knowledge. It clear-cut mentions that children of all backgrounds and all abilities will excel in all subjects. And it also, at the end, mentions that we will empower our students to succeed in the modern high-tech world. We are very mission-oriented here at the school. Our staff consistently talk about our mission and our core values. Many of our professional development, our internal staff professional development, things that we work on as a staff, directly relates to our core values and our mission. So if we're looking to improve, student engagement in the classroom, we say to ourselves, what does integrity, excellence, and community look like in our classroom? What does a celebration of knowledge look like in our classroom? How do we ensure that we're setting our students up with the best opportunity from all students of all backgrounds, all abilities? How are we going to set them up with the best possible circumstances so that they can excel as a student here at the school? Empowering students to succeed in the modern workplace, modern high-tech world. That's when students go through our entire program and they walk that stage of graduation. We feel like our academic program and all of the extracurriculars and all the opportunities that we offer inside the classroom with collaborative group work, discussion, really challenging our students to think outside the box, challenge themselves, take risks. We really feel like we have a very nice program where we are setting up students for success after high school. Our core values of integrity, excellence, and community were formed, or I guess established, back in 2017. So they've been around for quite a while now, and they're not going anywhere. These are, as I mentioned, these are values that we pay very close attention to as a staff. We speak to our students about this all the time. It's a great way to start conversations with students, whether it's, just talking about the school in general with them. If somebody slips up and makes a mistake, we can always point to our core values. It's a great resource for everyone. It's a great way to keep the conversation going. And these are things that the values were developed by the students, staff, parents, our board of trustees. Everyone had a say during that development phase. And those are values that we truly pay very close attention to and are monitoring at all times. Academic life. So prior to entering AMSA, if you go through the lottery process, your student's number is called, you accept a seat at AMSA. Here's some basic beginning steps for you. All students who come in, all brand new students, will take a math placement exam. That is to determine their math level to start off, their school year, the following school year. That math placement is not locked in. We understand that it's one exam. It gives us a starting point. The math department's very data oriented, as you could imagine. They look at these very closely. They develop these placement exams very strategically. So we really look at how the students perform. They're placed into a math level to start off with in the lower school, or if you're coming in ninth grade, leveled in the high school. And it's not the end all be all. Students have the opportunity to perform, based on their performance, they could advance up to a higher level, or if they're struggling a little bit, maybe they were overplaced. Maybe it's time to review that. And all of that would involve communication between the math department and the families and the student. It's not a blindsided experience where the student walks in one day and they're told that they're going down a level or that they're moving up a level. It's very collaborative, open lines of communication that involves everybody to discuss math placement. We administer a reading assessment through Lexia for all students entering in to see if there are any reading support needs. We have a literacy coordinator at our school, Dr. Cole. Her name's Dr. Catherine Cole. She administers those assessments and makes determinations based off of the Lexia. And again, that involves much communication with families if there are any needs or extra support that's identified through that process. Then we have the WIDA screener, WIDA, call that the WIDA screener. This is through our English language learners department, the ELL department. This is based on responses to the home language survey. So if anyone out there, while going through the application process, everyone's going to receive a home language survey. And if there are any indicators that another language is spoken at home other than English, then that student would be screened through the WIDA to determine if there are any English language support needs. And again, that would involve communication from our director of the ELL program. Her name is Kate Lee. And Miss Lee is not here tonight, but she will be at a future meeting, and we have one coming up in January where she will be in attendance to go through this maybe a little bit more in depth. The home language survey, just so everyone knows, we've had some situations where if a student took a foreign language as in their prior school district, if they took Spanish as an academic class, this is not what we're talking about. The home language based survey is strictly about at home. Are there any indicators when the family fills out the application that language other than English was spoken at home? That's when we would act and administer the WIDA screener. So academic life in 6th grade. Here's a quick snapshot of what a typical day or every other day would look like. So students start out in pre-algebra, as I mentioned. they go through the placement test. One unique, I think, characteristic of our middle school is that all students in 6th grade will take computer science each day. English class is each day, and history occurs each day. Latin is the foreign language for our students in grades 6 through 8. There are no other foreign language options at those grade levels. That's based on the school's charter. The charters, you know, we are a charter school. A charter is sort of it's kind of like an application that was used to create this school in the first place. And it mentions the importance of students taking Latin in middle school as the only foreign language. Latin, we believe, is very important, of course, in the field of science as well, in mathematics, and that, you know, can tie into a lot of those subjects. That's why it exists, and that's how it is in our middle school programming. In high school, the options open up. Students continue on with their path in Latin, or they can choose between Spanish or French. Students will take biology as their first science course. Well, other than computer science, which would be every day, but biology would be an every other day course in 6th grade. We have a grammar course that takes place in 6th grade, and then art and physical education / health occur every other day as well. Grade 7, things move and shift a little bit because we introduced some new subjects. So Algebra 7, history and English, those stay every day. Geometry now comes into the mix. Latin is still there. Computer science turns into an every other day class. And then you will see that there are 2 more sciences added. Remember, biology is the science that the students are taking in 6th grade. We are adding in chemistry. We add in chemistry and physics. Keep in mind that our science programming, it's very intentional, it's very deliberate, it's also layered, if you will, where students are really experiencing some high school level courses in science when they're in middle school here. It's taught at the appropriate pace. There's a very supportive aspect to it. But our students are really being introduced to some higher level concepts at the middle school level, and it's preparing them for the high school experience here. So biology, chemistry, and physics, and then art and phys ed, as you will see, stay every other day for the students. And then grade 8, a little bit more of a shift here. Algebra 8 and English are everyday courses. Now we're going to bring in another science course. That would be earth science. Earth science is taken only in 8th grade for our 8th grade students. You know, and you can see here, history turns into an every other day course. Health and phys ed, art, Latin, those stay every other day. So that's a quick glimpse into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade life, if you will, from the academic point of view. Now, I do want to talk to everybody about directed study. Each student in the middle school grade levels, grades 6 through 8, they're assigned to a directed study. Directed study is a 45-minute period. I'm going to go into what our daily bell schedule looks like, but I'll give you a quick little sneak peek. Every class period each day is 45 minutes. We have 8 periods a day, 45-minute periods, 45-minute blocks. Now, every day during H block, we have a numbered block system, which you'll learn more about once you go through our process. If you check out our website and our handbook, you can see a lot more information on that. Directed study occurs every single day for our middle school students. It sort of runs like a traditional study hall on certain days for some students, but it's also a very nice opportunity for students to meet with teachers and work with them in smaller settings or maybe even one-to-one. Directed study, like I said, it's H block. Almost the vast majority of our middle school teachers have that block either free, meaning they don't have a class that period, or they run a directed study themselves. So what that does is it opens up an opportunity for me. For example, if I'm in math class with Miss Edwards as my teacher, and I'm sitting in class and the material that's being presented to me is just something, I'm not grasping it that day. I could go up to Miss Edwards and say, Miss Edwards, could I see you during directed study? I really need a refresh on everything we went over today. I'm not up to speed on what you were covering in math today. She would say, sure, Mike. And she'd write me, there's a whole pass system, a whole directed study, logistical procedures are all in place for the students to learn about on their first day of school. But I would get a pass from Miss Edwards, in this case, my math teacher, for example. And then I would go see her whenever H period fell next in the schedule, or if it happened to be the following day was the next time directed study met. I would go meet her during that time. I would show my actual directed study teacher, hey, Mr. Finkel, I need to go see Miss Edwards. Here's my pass. He'd sign off on it, and I go see Miss Edwards. So students have the opportunity to make those appointments, and the teachers have the opportunity to initiate those appointments as well, and teach self-advocacy skills along the way, to open up the opportunity for students to kind of get more in-depth instruction or a little extra time on certain topics or concepts, you know, depending on the day, depending on what's going on. Along with directed study, every 8th day of the scheduling rotation. So on day 8, we do have a 8-day rotating schedule. So on the 8th day, the last day of the rotating schedule, we do have an advisory period. So it takes place during directed study. Students would stay in their directed study on these days, and they take part in many different lessons. There's some examples here on character building. There's different themes of the month. They could have lessons around responsibility, integrity. Bullying Prevention Week was something that they covered. We cover each year. I was actually in an advisory, I want to say about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where the advisory or the directed study teacher covered an entire lesson on bullying, and it was great. It was very interactive, very collaborative. So that does exist within the directed study program, and that was developed mainly by our school counseling department, and we also use some other vendors, reputable vendors and programs that are out there to run those advisory programs and get those lessons in order for everyone. A little bit more about student life. Many opportunities to socialize, make new connections. We have social events and dances, games, competition, things of that nature. Our PTO, they are great. We have 2 great co-presidents who do a very nice job of connecting the new families and bringing the new families and new students together. The PTO actually started a brand new program this year called a host family program, where currently for our brand new families this current school year, they had the opportunity to opt in and work with a host family. So PTO reached out to our AMSA community and asked all the veteran families, would anyone here like to be a host family? Meaning you could be like a go-to person for another family that's brand new to the school and ask questions about, the uniform policy or how things work. How do I pick up my child? Where do I drive on campus? If you need clarification on logistical items and things like that, the PTO organizes that. They do a very, very nice job. They're great, and they put on a lot of events and help people connect, especially when they're brand new to the school. And just some clubs that we like to mention each year. There's Leaders of Tomorrow. There's a yoga group for our yoga club that students could join at our school. Historically, the Money Wizards. I'm not even exact. We have 61 clubs right now that are offered. Some of them are specific just to high school. Some of them are just specific to middle school. Some of them are open to all students. It's tough for me to actually keep track and have them all memorized, but you'll see here, Money Wizards, there's a drama society. We have the middle school math team. We have a Latin club. We have fencing. Just a lot of great opportunities after school hours. Field trips. We offer field trips for each grade level. So this year, the 6th graders, they just hiked up Mount Wachusett together. 7th graders went to the Worcester Art Museum, and they went to Roller Kingdom after that. 8th graders, I think they went to a ropes course, team building, sort of a ropes course type of challenge, if you will. So we do have field trips back up and running. It's been great. Obviously, when we were dealing with COVID, we had to put a halt to a lot of this fun extracurricular type of stuff. but we have brought it back. And then once students get into high school, as it mentions here, we do have field trips for our high school students as well. We try and tie them into the curriculum and what they're learning, but some of them are a mix. Of course, we want it to be fun. So it's a nice mix of fun and, something that you can relate to the classroom as well. So what separates middle school at AMSA from other middle schools around the region, if you will? What we think it does is we do have a 7-year vision for student achievement here at the school. If students start here in 6th grade and they go through our entire program, 6th through 12th grade, that's 7 years that you're here on campus. Our middle school, high school, we are all on the same campus together. Our middle and high school, we have teachers that teach at both levels. We have a lot, our teachers are very connected. We have a close-knit community, and we communicate all the time about student performance, how things are going. So the middle school and high school teachers, there's a connection there. It's just one of those advantages we have that once a student gets into high school at AMSA, we already know who they are. We already know what their story is. We already know what works for them. It's just a nice advantage, I think, that we have. We also have a rigorous course of study. As I mentioned at the very beginning, we do have high expectations for our students, high academic expectations, high behavioral expectations. Our computer science as a core class is, at the middle school level is absolutely great. It really prepares students, propels them into high school to a number of opportunities and great electives that we have at the high school level when it comes to computer science. There's just a high school level content in general at the middle school level. I mentioned for our science department, for example, our students are really going to be covering high school level content while they're in middle school. It's chunked up very nicely. It's delivered in a very supportive way, if you will. We really work through, our science teachers do a very nice job of offering high level content, but not overwhelming the students. We have many years of practice with this. We've learned a lot over the years, and it always goes very, very well. It's a little bit of an adjustment for students at first, but we get them there. We have a great partnership, as I mentioned, with high school, middle school. There's tutoring and mentoring programs. Our athletic programs are connected certain occasions. Our middle school students, for example, if you're running cross country, you might have they might have juniors and seniors as their captains, and they build that connection with the high school students, right away, right off the bat through sports. And then we do have a peer mediation program as well, where our high school students are trained to handle very, very low level conflict with middle school students, and also kind of help students with conflict resolution skills and things of that nature. It's overseen by our adults, our administrators, but our students who are in leadership roles at the high school do connect with the middle school students on those particular occasions. Just making sure that my screen's not frozen here. It's not. So what does an AMSA school day look like? Campus, just so everyone knows, if you're accepted and you end up coming here, this information will be very, very well known to you. It will be broadcast to everyone once seats are accepted. But just wanted to get it out there that our campus does open at 7:25 a.m. to drop off, and to our buses and all of that. First period begins at 7:55 a.m. 8th period, which is the last period of the day, that ends at 2:45. I'll let you all know that back in 2018, we switched the schedule so that we started a little bit earlier, and now we end a little bit. Sorry, we start a little bit earlier and we end a little bit earlier now compared to our old schedule, where we used to have dismissal at 3:15 p.m. Now we're getting out at 2:45. Students take part in, as I mentioned, 8 45-minute periods each day. And just so everyone knows, because it does pop up in the chat pretty much every year that we do these, lunch sessions are approximately 25 minutes each. That may be a big adjustment for, especially for the incoming 6th graders, but that is how long our lunch blocks are. There's no, we don't have snack time or anything of that nature. We do have cafeterias where students can if they're hanging out in the morning and they bring, you know, a granola bar or something like that, or there's vending machines, there's a little bit of time to have a quick snack in the cafeteria before school is even in session. But we don't have a set breakfast time. We don't have set snack times. We have lunch sessions, again, that are right around 25 minutes each day. We divide the lunches up in the middle school. 6th grade has first lunch each day, starting at 11 a.m. And then second lunch is for our 7th graders. Third lunch is for our 8th grade each day. Real quickly, student behavioral expectations, school policies. There are a lot. We have I think it's a 78-page student handbook that outlines all the policies, laws, regulations, everything's covered in there, which you'll read more and sign off on if your student's accepted into the school. We have a whole sign-off procedure for the handbook. But just to cover some of the basics, cell phone policy. Our school has a strict cell phone policy, and that is that in the middle school, students are to keep their cell phones in their lockers at all times. They're not supposed to have their cell phones on their person. Once students get into high school, they can have their cell phone on their person. However, cell phone usage at the high school or middle school level would have to be with, with permission, authorization from the teacher. Sometimes our teachers would like to run a particular lesson that involves a cell phone for a multitude of reasons. It's not very common, but there's apps out there. There's things that, where cell phones could be a benefit to the classroom for a particular day once in a while. But our students, usually our teachers would just use Chromebooks, other technology, but sometimes cell phones make sense. And the students would know ahead of time that they could use their cell phone in class that day. Otherwise, cell phones are not to be used during the day. Texting, going on social media, Snapchatting, TikToking, whatever they're doing out there, we do not condone that at the school. And our policy is that we would confiscate the cell phone from a student. They get a consequence, which means they have to stay after school for detention. And we will let the parents know that their child had their cell phone out during the day and they violated the policy. I say overall we do a pretty nice job with this. I mean, it definitely pops up once in a while. Middle school and high school level, students try and sneak their phone and text during the day, text during class time, but we do not have a major issue. It's because we really take our policies seriously. We really follow through on what we say we're going to do. So we do take the cell phones very seriously. Hopefully that's good news to you parents out there, because they can be quite a distraction. We do have a school uniform / dress code policy. All of that information is on our website. I encourage all of you to take a look at our website if you want to learn more about the school in general. You can just search around and have some fun looking around at the site. This uniform policy has gone through so many changes in my early years, but I would say for the last 6 school years, we are in a very solid and consistent place. We have a visual poster that's user-friendly, easy to read and to recognize and understand what the expectations are. And we do take this seriously. We want our teachers to have their students, in the appropriate dress during the school day. We do have dress down days once a month where the students can wear what they would like to wear as long as it's appropriate. Once a month, and we do have spirit weeks as well, where students dress to a theme. We have 3 spirit weeks a year, so there are opportunities for students to express themselves through their clothing on several occasions throughout the year, but for the majority of the time, students are expected to be within the dress code policy of the school. We cover all of this in depth with the families and especially with the students during their first week of school. They're very well aware. We do have two deans of students, one dean of students that's dedicated to the middle school. His name is Anthony Montesian. He handles sort of the day-to-day, if there's any disciplinary concerns or student attendance concerns, any conflict, things of that nature. He deals with that through his office. And then we also have a dean of students that's dedicated to the high school. So I'm just checking the time here, see how I'm doing. Okay, we're doing okay, I think. AMSA Operations, transportation, we currently, this school year, and again, I encourage you, I'm going to keep saying it, check out our website if you'd like to see a little bit more information regarding all these items here. But transportation-wise, we currently have 3 fee-based regional buses. So Hudson, Maynard, Clinton. I believe buses go to some other, maybe there's a bus that might go to Shrewsbury. It depends on the school year. It depends on the situations. It depends on the routing of the buses, all of that. But that is associated with a fee that families do have to pay to take advantage of the regional busing. We do currently have 8 Marlboro buses. There are no fees for the Marlboro busing. Lunch program. We really do have a very solid lunch program. We do not have a working kitchen at the school. I mean, of course, we have a sink, we have dishwasher, things of that nature, but we don't cook food at our campus. AMSA was not a school that was built for the purpose of a school. It's a converted office park that's been transformed into a school over time, right? So we don't have that traditional cafeteria sort of setup. We do work with a company that comes in and delivers hot lunches or whatever. There are plenty. There's a hot lunch option, a sandwich option, a salad option, a vegetarian option each day for the students, where families and students actually order in advance of the month. So, for example, right now it's December. Our winter break's coming up pretty soon. So, lunch ordering for January will probably, if it already hasn't taken place, there will be an alert to our current students and parents very soon, or maybe it already happened for this month, asking everyone or letting everyone know, here's the menu for January each day. Please check off what you would like. It's all computer generated. We get the reports, and then this catering company that we work with, they meet the demand of the orders, and students wait in line at lunch. If they order lunch, they go through that whole process, and we have everything ready for them. So just want to make that very clear to everyone. It's probably different than what you're used to. Our health office, we have a great health office. It's located in the middle school building, actually. We have 3 buildings on campus. One that's it's called the lower school building. Then we have the high school, which is called the upper school building. And then we have a building, it's 165 Forest Street. It's a big white building that you can see off of 495 or right there on Forest Street. We just call it the white building internally. Those are the 3 buildings. The nurses are in the lower school. We have 2.5 nurses, 2 full-time, 1 who is part-time, 3 days a week. I already mentioned field trips, how we have grade level advisors or coordinators who take care of all the planning for that. And I mentioned we have a little over 60 clubs right now this school year. Now, AMSA athletics, we have 23 varsity programs, 37 different teams that are offered. We are in the Colonial Athletic League. We have a very strong athletic program. When I first got here, we were not even an MIAA school. MIAA is the governing body for the governing body of Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletics. For almost, the vast majority of high schools in the state are a member of the MIAA. We used to be in a charter school specific league. We moved to the MIAA, I want to say in 2013 or 14, and we've just seen success along the way. You can see here some middle school specific offerings. We have middle school boys basketball, track and field. We have cross country for middle school. Each season, there's an opportunity for all students, including middle schoolers, to join a non-cut sport, meaning, there's a sport that exists each season where there are no roster cuts, that everyone who tries out and goes through that process makes the team. School counseling, right now we have 7 full-time school counselors, include 2 of those are adjustment counselors, and 1 part-time school counselor across middle and high school. They are here to support students academically, socially, emotionally, and then college and career development as they get into ninth grade, they start seminars with the students and introduce them to some light career exploration, college exploration, things of that nature. They do conduct classroom lessons. They are involved in that advisory program that I mentioned earlier. Junior and senior seminar are very important classes once students hit 11th and 12th grade. They go through a very in-depth process preparing themselves for college and career development, whatever path they're choosing after high school. Counselors oversee PSAT and AP testing. They also oversee all 504 plans. So if you have a student who currently is on a 504 plan or maybe is in the process of being evaluated for a 504 plan, just know that their school counselor will be the oversight on those plans. We have a great school counseling department. Special education department, we do have a special education department that is staffed with several liaisons / special education teachers. We have an inclusive model, and as I mentioned here, the majority of the IEP services are delivered in the general ed classrooms. We have academic labs, which are sort of like small group study halls, if you will. Not really study halls. It's more of an opportunity for students to meet with their designated special education liaison directly during the school day at a scheduled block of time. It's a accredited course in high school, but it also exists in middle school, and it's a way for special education teachers to develop that connection with the students and to check in with students on their goals around their IEP, and just to check and monitor their progress overall and help the student, advocate and communicate when necessary with the general education teachers, just to make sure that they're keeping up with their studies, and also just checking in on just their social, emotional health as well. Just building that connection, as I said. And, the special education teachers could always refer situations out to the school counselors or to other administrators whenever necessary. Special education, services, as it says here, delivered by our general education teachers, special ed teachers, and we do have paraprofessionals on staff. I believe we have 6 or 7 paraprofessionals on staff. We also have a school psychologist who works part-time. It's part-time speech language pathologist and SLP. We also have contracted services with a BCBA, physical therapist, occupational therapist, and assistive technology specialist. So we have a full-on program. And transition meetings for new students coming in who have an IEP. Those are held in the spring. And Lynn Jarvis, as it mentions here, she is the head of the special education department, and she is always there as someone you can contact if you ever have any questions regarding special education. Now, there's a couple slides here that Miss Lee put in for our ELL program that she plans to go through in depth at our meeting in January. But it's most of the material that I already mentioned regarding the WIDA screener and the identification process. So basically, as I mentioned, through the home language survey, which goes out to all new students and in their families, if there's any indication on there that English is, that there's another language other than English being spoken at home, or if it meets the criteria of any of the several questions that you would run through there, Miss Lee will be in touch and discuss, she'll screen students and then discuss the results of those screeners with the families, and then determinations will be made on if the student will take part, if the family opts for their student to take part in ELL services. We have a full-on program here at the school. Miss Lee has a paraprofessional strictly for the ELL program that works with her in the classroom during ELL support classes. Again, I believe there's a lot of information on these slides, a lot of writing. That's pretty much the main gist of that, which is, sort of what I mentioned earlier. So let's see how I did. 48 minutes. All right. Again, I preface this whole thing saying you're going to hear a lot of me talking. I hope that I wasn't rapid fire there. I hope that you got at least some tidbits of information that was valuable for you all to hear. We'll check the chat for sure. And I'm going to introduce Miss Edwards now. As I mentioned, she's our school registrar, and she's going to be your go-to during the lottery process. So Miss Edwards, please feel free to take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Naraki. So my name is Linda Edwards. I am the registrar. I have been with AMSA for a long time, probably 14 years now. I was a parent for about 6 or 7 years. Both my children attended AMSA. Then I was a substitute teacher, and I've been registrar for about 5 years. So I understand what it's like to be a parent and, you know, to have your child attending and to go through the lottery. So as Mr. Naraki said, admission to AMSA is through the lottery. If you have not made your application yet, you find the application on the AMSA website. Everybody this year will be making an application. If you've applied in the past, you may think you're going to go back in and just update. This year we are moving to Power School for our lottery and student record keeping. So everybody must make a new application. I've had a few people who have tried to use the old one. You will find that, I think Mr. Finkel will put the link in the website there in the chat. We have had many applications already. So, you know, the process is we do tend to get over 1,000 applications, and we do not have 1,000 seats, unfortunately. So we do run the lottery, and we generally, you know, we will offer to siblings of current students. For 6th grade is where we mainly bring in students. After we've filled seats with siblings, we will offer then to the core town in lottery order. Then we'll go outside non-core. We have not gone outside non-core for the last couple of years, but you never know. You know, it really depends who does apply. The lottery will be held by Zoom in late February. We do not have a date yet. We have to wait till we receive information from the Department of Education in the middle of February, which determines how the lottery is run and how many seats actually are available. Everybody who has applied for the lottery will receive an email mid-February once we have the information, which will give them an alias for the lottery. You will never see your child's name up when we do public lottery. You will receive an alias, and you will actually receive the time of the Zoom if you should want to log in and watch. If you do receive an offer, offers will be emailed out within 24 hours of the lottery. So be patient. It is a new system this year, so, you know, things are taking a little bit longer. There is a list of the documents you will need to accept the seat offer. They are up on the website on the admissions page down the right hand side. You'll find a list of the documents you might need. So when you get your child's next report card, hang on to that one. Then you'll need some proofs of residency and a copy of their birth certificate. And if your child has a 504 or an IEP, now is the time to know where that is, because you do have 5 school days to return all these documents to AMSA. And then all the results will be posted on the website once we have sent out all offers and things, and the wait list will be kept on the AMSA website, so you can always check on there to see where your child is in the process of moving through the lottery. And I think that's about it for me. Oh, the testing that Mr. Rocky was talking about earlier on, the testing is done at home, well, has been for the last few years. The Lexia reading test can be done easily at home. We ask that parents do not assist their child. Does the child no good if we're not getting the correct information? And we have done the math test at home for the last couple of years. Again, this one we find sometimes it's not quite a true representation of the child. Sometimes, you know, parents have assisted their child too much, and so we will be discussing whether we're going to do this in person again this year or do it from home. But so I think we will open up the chat to questions. If anybody has anything they would like to ask in the chat, we'll do our best to answer the questions.
Miss Edwards, I don't know if Mr. Finkel sent this one to you, but I can answer the bulk of this if you'd like, but one question came in from a parent about ninth graders when they enter into the school and sort of how that adjustment, how that goes. I don't know if you want to talk quickly about just how many ninth grader. I mean, I don't know how many ninth graders we took in this year, just as an example for them, but
So yeah, for
just want
this
to talk
year
about
we
that a little
took
bit.
in 22 ninth graders. I will say for the other grades, just I don't know who's out there, but for 8th grade there was only 1 seat available, and for 7th grade there was 3 seats, I believe. So, you know, there are not many seats available in 7th and 8th grade. For 9th grade, we have ended up taking in about 22 students at this point. We have 2 seats that are out on offer at the moment. So ninth graders, not all ninth graders know before the start of the school year. There is like we will bring them in as seats become open during the year. If they come in during the school year, then they are assigned another ninth grader who's been here a while and knows the ropes and things. And they're assigned to that person for a couple of days to get the feel of the school and get to know some people before they are set off on their own.
That's great. There was a question that popped up here. Sorry, Lynn, there's one that I may not be going in order, but somebody said Boundary Street in Northborough. I think the question is like proximity to the school, but I think if you're from Northborough, you fall into the same category, correct, as any other?
It has to be your residential address. And I do see there's a question about, is there a priority for lottery by town? No, every application that comes into me, I look at your address, and if you are from one of the core towns, you are assigned to a core town. It does not matter which town. The only time that would come into account is when we receive information from the Department of Education in February about something called an NSS cap. And sometimes we have some towns where we cannot take any more students in from that town. If you want more information on that, you can find that on the website, but it's general information because we do not receive the information from the state until just before we run the lottery. But that is the only time when one town out of our core towns maybe would not have the same preference. Okay, I see there's a lot of questions gone through.
Yeah, so we're gonna spend, what time is it, 6:57? I think we could spend, we'll probably end at 7:05. We may not get through every single question here, and we apologize for that, but we want to respect everybody's time. If we don't hit one of your questions, please feel free to email with any questions. I'm actually going to flip this presentation to this slide so people can see some email addresses while we're talking. But there was one that popped up that I can answer, I think, quite quickly about student to teacher ratio. So we'll go, like I said, we'll go on for another 8 minutes here. The technical student teacher ratio is probably 1 to, if I'm doing my math correctly, probably like 1 to 12 if you looked at it mathematically based on how many teachers we have versus the number of students, 1 to 12 sort of ratio. But, you know, realistically for 6th grade, for example, I think the average class size is going to be around 23 to 24 students. Our absolute cap that we can have for maximum amount of students we can have in a classroom per the union contract that we have with our teachers is 26 students. There's some exceptions for physical education class, for example, you can have up to 30 students in a class. We have a chorus class in high school, which can have up to 40 students. But other than those 2 courses, we have no classes that have more than 26 students. Like I said, I'd say the average is actually more so around 23 ish for 6th graders on how many students you would expect to see in a class.
So I will answer, there's a couple here about residency and things. If you have a child who has 2 parents who live in 2 different towns, the child is able to choose which town to make the application from. So if one parent lives in Hudson and one parent lives in Northborough, the parent who lives in Hudson should be the one who makes the application for the child. It does not matter if the student does not live there full time, as long as they spend some part of the week with the parent in Hudson, that is the address you should use for the application. And there was another one about, do you need to submit any more documents? I don't know, it's disappeared. The application is just, it's a very simple application. It's your child's name, age, date of birth, school they're attending, and your contact information, your email, your phone number, and your address. That is all we need to do the lottery, because nothing else comes into effect for the lottery. It's pure chance. Okay, it's only afterwards, if you're accepted, that you will need to submit documentations.
There was a question about the cost of lunch, and that's a very good question. Right now, this current school year, I believe the lunches are $5.05. You may know, I think it's exactly $5.05. So, for example, I mentioned that there's several different options that students can choose from, students and families can choose from, but you have to put in your orders a month in advance. Again, it looks much different probably than what everyone on here is used to with their children's current schools, I would imagine. The lunches are, I would say, they're very high quality. There's different options each day. Like there's chicken parm meals, there's broccoli and ziti and chicken meals, there's hamburgers, hot dogs. There's all these different choices that you'd see throughout the month, but probably a little bit more costly than you may be used to as well. They are just a tad over $5 this current year.
Yep. I see a question about 9th grade admission. Will the spots all be taken by core towns? That is difficult to know. You know, generally they would not be in like the first round of offers, but as we progress through the school year, I can offer seats up until the 15th of February of the school year. So sometimes, occasionally, a couple of 9th graders may get in January, February who are not core town, if we exhaust all the core town residents. Okay.
Yeah, if I could go back real quick, because Mr. Finkel wrote something in there about free or reduced lunch. So I do want to point out to everyone. So when you look at our website, you look at our school, you'll see, as we mentioned, there's a dress code or a uniform that costs some money. That costs money to play sports. There's a fee associated with that, and it's quite high to play a sport at AMSA. It's on average, it's a little over $300 to play a sport for an entire season. So there are costs here. I do want everyone to know that we have our financial aid policies, procedures, all of that is clear cut on our website, and how that all operates. We run a free or reduced lunch program. So if there are families that qualify for free or reduced lunch, that translates into the field trips. If there's field trip costs and you're on free lunch, you know, it's a educational field trip taking place during the school year, then, you know, that would be covered. Sports would be covered. You get a uniform discount or gift cards that the school gives out. So if you're economically disadvantaged. So I want everyone to know that there's a financial assistance policy that is outlined in our handbook, and it's on our website that you could view if you need any more information on that. And it was just posted into the chat.
Yes, it is difficult to get in, I would say, for every grade. You know, generally the number of applicants for 6th grade is between 600 and 700. You know, 140 of them are going to get in, possibly.
Yep. Yeah, we had 1,033 applications last year for a total of how many open spots, Linda?
142 for 6th grade, and two for 7th, for 8th, and the 22 that are for 9th grade. Yeah. And the seats we're filling in 9th grade are because some of our students at the end of 8th grade go off to Assabet or to private school, or, you know, it's a good time for a family to move or something. So that generally opens up a few seats, but, you know, we don't know how many.
Yeah. Let's maybe look at one more question if there's one out there, and then we will again, to wrap up, and we apologize if we didn't get to your specific question, but you can always feel free to email us.
Yep, and you can
if
email me any questions.